My name is Alan Skorski. Let me begin by stating that this message is solely my own and has not in any way been coordinated with Senator Norm Coleman, his campaign, or any Republican organization. I am the author of Pants on Fire: How Al Franken Lies, Smears, and Deceives, a book that was written as a rebuttal to Al Franken's best-selling book, Lies and the Lying Liars Who Tell Them. In his book and in his promotional appearances, Franken was adamant that his book was based on the highest standards of research and that, quote, "I never lie and I hold myself to impossibly high standards when it comes to telling the truth." My book was written after extensive and detailed research, including over 30 email exchanges with Al Franken himself. And while my book proves that Al Franken was less than truthful in his smears against Rush Limbaugh, Bill O'Reilly, Sean Hannity, Ann Coulter, and others, I am not here to defend them. They all have far stronger platforms to respond to or defend themselves against Al Franken. I have appeared on MSNBC with Tucker Carlson, Fox News' The O'Reilly Factor, and C-SPAN's Book TV, and have done over 70 radio interviews, including a 1-hour interview with an Air America affiliate. The presidential election is just around the corner, and for many Americans, there will also be elections for U.S. Senate seats. This video message is a special appeal to the voters in Minnesota. I will not tell you whom I think you should vote for in the presidential race, but I will ask that you strongly consider whom you vote for in the U.S. Senate race. I cannot tell you what Norm Coleman has done for Minnesotans, but I do know what kind of man Al Franken is. He is someone with a history of hot-tempered and vulgar outbursts who will stoop to the lowest levels to smear people he disagrees with. Over the next few minutes, I will expose another side of Al Franken that has been ignored by the mainstream media, and that is Al Franken, the plagiarist. In his book, Lies and the Lying Liars Who Tell Them, Chapter 12, titled The Chapter on Fox, Al Franken apparently found the same biases from Fox News as did the liberal left-wing watchdog group FAIR, which is the acronym for Fairness and Accuracy in Reporting, a report that was put out by Seth Ackerman of FAIR just a few years earlier in the summer of 2001, titled The Most Biased Name in News. But first we should define what plagiarism is. According to the Harvard Guide, they define plagiarism as passing off a source's information, ideas, or words as your own by omitting to cite them as an act of lying, cheating, and stealing. Also from Harvard's rules regarding plagiarism, they state that it is your responsibility to avoid accidents in case you use a few vivid phrases as your own. Now I'm going to give you several examples from my book. On Hannity and Combs' Fair Rights, even Fox's left-right debate show, Hannity and Combs, whose crossfire-style format virtually imposes numerical equality between conservatives and liberals, can't shake the impression of resembling a Harlem Globetrotters game. Al Franken writes on page 63 of his book, On Hannity and Combs, "If any program on the Fox lineup represents the network's credo, fair and balanced, it's got to be what has been called the highest-rated show on television. It's a conservative versus liberal talking head show, kind of a combination between Crossfire and a Harlem Globetrotters game." On Sean Hannity, Fair writes, "On the right, co-host Sean Hannity is an effective and telegenic ideologue, a protege of Newt Gingrich, and a rising star of conservative talk radio." Al Franken writes on page 84 of his book, "Roger Ailes, who has a real eye for talent, personally chose the telegenic, soon-to-be superstar Hannity." On Alan Combs, Fair writes, "I'm quite a moderate," he told a reporter when asked to describe his politics. Al Franken writes, "I'm quite a moderate," he told a USA Today reporter. On Brit Hume, Fair writes, "Fox's managing editor is Brit Hume, a veteran TV journalist and contributor to the conservative American Spectator and Weekly Standard magazines." Al Franken writes in his book on page 62, "Ailes went to work hiring his team. For managing editor, he chose veteran journalist Brit Hume, a contributor to the ultra-conservative Weekly Standard and the ultra-conservative American Spectator." On Special Report with Brit Hume, which is a show of Brit Hume's special Fox News report, Fair writes, Each episode of Special Report with Brit Hume, for example, features a three-person panel of pundits who chat about the day's political news at the end of the show. The most frequent panelist is Fred Barnes, the evangelical Christian supply-sider who edits the Murdoch-owned Weekly Standard. Well, Al Franken writes on page 63 of Special Report with Brit Hume, which concludes with Brit moderating a three-person panel of pundits. The most frequent panelist is a prominent conservative, Fred Barnes, editor of the Weekly Standard. Fair writes, on Fox's coverage of the news in general, stories favored by the journalistic establishment, Kim Hume says, are all mushy like AIDS, or all silly like Head Start. They want to give publicity to people they think are doing good. And what does Al Franken write on the same subject? For Washington Bureau Chief, Al chose Brit's wife, Kim, who was determined to change the tone of the television journalism. Mainstream stories, she complained in 1997, are all mushy like AIDS, or all silly like Head Start. These are just several examples where I have found that Al Franken's explanation or attack on Fox News is almost verbatim from Fair's report. In conclusion, Barack Obama has campaigned for president as the agent of change. Does Al Franken really represent the kind of change that Americans are looking for? This Senate seat was once held by Paul Wellstone, a die-hard liberal, someone who I would never vote for, but someone I could respect as a hard-working and honest. Al Franken is no Paul Wellstone. Thank you.